Hello, we are
Kyoto Protocol, and this is our
Juicy Mixtape.
Loved it, perfect.
I understand the mixtape is juicy.
You too, John.
I'm going to start with the first question, which is, I think you guys get it a million times. Why are you called Kyoto Protocol? Where did this name come from? What's the inspiration?
I will try to say this in the shortest way possible because usually I go on this crazy tangent about carbon credits and then we completely derail the conversation. But essentially in 2009, when we formed this band, we needed a name. We didn't have a name.
We've had some
Our
terrible
name
names.
before Kyoto Protocol was Checkered Balls.
Checkered balls.
Yeah, and we have a poster to prove it. But essentially, in 2009, we needed a band name. So we asked each band member to contribute their their shout out in the hat, right? So what band name would you like? Nobody contributed anything except myself. And my contribution was Redux Initiative.
Okay.
I'm quite a nerdy fella, I suppose. That's what people like to say about me. And Redux Initiative, I suppose, is a very cerebral approach to me describing the kind of music that we wanted to make. Redux, so then Redux Initiative, I put that into the hat, and then, okay, fine, nobody has a contribution.
The
but
only
they're
one in the hat.
Yeah, the only one in the hat, right? So by default, we should be called Redux Initiative. When one of the former band members commented, I don't know, man, it sounds like the Kyoto Protocol or Geneva Convention.
Oh.
Yeah. So then I thought to myself, those are hilarious band names.
Yeah.
I just want to interject and say that was the most thorough explanation for a band name that didn't happen.
Redux Initiative.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your band name called? It was a gang. But what it wasn't called, here's a 10-minute explanation.
That's okay. I'm long-winded too. I love it.
We all are.
Can't help it. So with your mixtape, I thought it was super duper creative to choose songs from bands that you've opened for. Which band was like particularly special to open for? Maybe it's different personally?
Yeah, definitely. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Shaq for thinking of the idea of a playlist. So
Freaking
it was
cool
his
idea.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
because of that, he has the honor of going first.
Okay. Aww.
You're welcome, Jack. But also, yes, go.
I got two, I guess. The first one would definitely be MGMT because that was our first one.
That was the first
that was
band
the
you
first
ever
band
opened
we ever
for. Wow,
opened for.
huge
Yeah.
band to open for.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was in the very early stages. That was in 2011.
11.
Something like that. So that was really cool. But I think, in all honesty, the other one was opening for Tenacious D.
Oh, nice.
I think that it's, I mean, to me, they're an actor and musician, and their songs are great. And amongst us and internally, we, Gail gets called Kyle Gass, and I get called Jack Black all the time. So there's a little bit of relationship there, I guess you could say. So yeah, and we got to actually meet him,
That's
Jack Black,
amazing.
for a very short stint.
Wow.
And he gave us a nice compliment.
Oh,
so
that's
it was
nice. I mean, I
a very
guess
special moment.
I also have him listen to you guys play with
Exactly. So at one point when we were playing, Gail turned around when he was playing the keyboards, and he turned around and he saw Jack Black just on the side stage watching us for a bit. So that was a really special moment, you know. So
I
yeah,
bet. That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's great. That's mine.
That's yours?
Yeah.
You really?
No.
Okay. For me, it's a tie-up between The Killers and Death Cab for Cutie.
Nice.
The Killers because they're just phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're a household name. They're huge lah,
They're huge.
right? Particularly why The Killers was because our show went very well. The drummer came up. Is it the rock?
The drummer, Chris.
Right? The drummer
Yeah.
came up.
The guy who looks like my name is Earl.
Yes. So that was really good. But at that point, I think it was one of our bigger gigs, so I was just really focused on our set.
Yeah.
And it went well. So for that reason, that was one of my favorites. But Death Cab more so because it is a favorite band of mine.
Oh, nice.
And the whole band was also watching.
What a dream,
Yeah,
honestly.
the whole band was also watching. I am the drummer of this band, by the way, so I'm more drummer centric. But afterwards,
nonetheless.
yeah, afterwards our manager at that time, our agent, came up to me and said, they said the drummer of this band is really good. And, yeah, I know.
Oh
and then the drummer and I had a link together. Backstage, we were playing. It was great. It was really good.
Oh my god, I can feel it. I can feel
It's
it.
called bonding over nature.
Yes.
Kyoto Protocol.
Yeah. So yeah, these guys picked 2 each. I think they picked mine also. So that's it lah.
Those are the same for you. Alright, so when you're making a mixtape or a playlist, right, what do you choose first? The song, the vibe, the name of the mixtape? Like how do you make your decisions?
It pays to start with the end in mind, right? So that kind of helps to focus all efforts, and then, once you have the theme, what the mixtape's about, and that may be encapsulated in the title of the mixtape, then it helps everybody to think towards that goal, right? So I guess in this example, when Shaq said, "Why don't we do a mixtape of all those bands that we opened for?" then immediately he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea." And then it's really just looking back at the history books, just picking the one.
It's one of those things when you listen to it, you sort of relive those moments again, which is really nice sometimes. So yeah.
I think that's like the thing about music, right? Or even like a playlist. It's like when you kind of go back to it, you're like, oh, that's how I used to feel.
I feel like Backstreet Boys for me. Every time you hear it, you just flash back to like high school or something like that, primary school. Yeah. All the times I used to dance.
In Standard 6, I actually sang with 2 other friends of mine for a talent show.
Backstreet Boys?
That's why I see behind the drums.
I feel like you sounded pretty good to me. But I am tone deaf, so.
Here's a compliment! No?
So,
Taking it back.
as a rock band, how do you see the genre evolving from when you first started, and what spin do you think you've put onto it?
Well, that's the special thing about rock and roll, right? Because it's always been evolving, and I don't think the last decade since we were active as a band has been any different. I mean, just think about how rock and roll started back in the very early days, and some people will argue that all those blues musicians like Buddy Waters and all those was the inception of rock and roll, and they were blues. And then you had that influence and stuff with Elvis, and then at some points it was even like disco and stuff, right? That kind of became rock and roll, and then metal became rock and roll in the 80s, and then they decided to strip it down in the 90s again. So it's always evolving, and well, maybe a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I felt like rock was in a really weird place. Kind of that feeling of when I thought of the name Redux Initiative again, that feeling of kind of being uncomfortable with your peerage. But I think what's really cool now is that you're seeing a lot of young people, maybe through the whatever mediums that they're really into, say like TikTok and all those kinds of things. What are the biggest songs that are coming back on that platform? It's stuff like Boney M. It's stuff like Queen. It's the 70s again, It just harks back to how strong that decade was in terms of just a wealth of creation of music. That movie, Yesterday, is all about the Beatles, right? There are still Beatles songs that I hear today that, that's some B-side or whatever that I've never heard before. And I just go like, man, this is still the most creative thing that I've ever heard coming out from a band. Whereas a lot of, I think, what is being pushed out there in maybe mainstream media, especially when it comes to rock, is trying to be safe or emulate or whatever. Just look at the Billboard Top 10, for example. It all kind of almost sounds the same, or it's devoid of melody. So it's no surprise that young people are yearning out and searching for melody and all that, I see a lot of young people picking up guitars nowadays, so that's really cool. I think it's headed back into the right direction. I'm not saying that we should stick to the old days. That's not it. It's that music is about 7 notes and how many flats, 5 flats, right? So it's about all the notes. So we should embrace the widest spectrum as possible and be as creative as possible. instead of just trying to copy somebody else. Yeah.
So
How do you feel like you guys have kind of found your like footing in this genre? Like, where do you feel like Kyoto Protocol sits in it?
It's I honestly don't.
Is that
really
a hard
know.
question?
I honestly don't really know, but I mean.
You don't need to know, honestly. I guess
Yeah, exactly.
You just create your art.
That is exactly what I was
Yeah.
going to say. Yeah, that literally, and we don't actually need to know. As long as you vibe with it, is organic, and that you're paying it forward. You know, it comes from a place that's real. It comes from with the right, how would I say, niyat? What's niyat in English? Intention. Yeah, with the right purpose. Yeah. In terms of being part of that chain of evolution. So just as I've described, like rock and roll has always been this thing that's ever evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to believe that we were part of that evolution in some small way in our microcosm here in
Definitely
Malaysia.
here in Malaysia. For
I hope
sure.
so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I like to say this about inspiration, right? Don't close any doors before they open. So when you put yourself in too much of a set process, you could be mentally blocking yourself off from an off-kilter way that would have given you something very, very different, right? Some people like to say like they have a process like, I like to do the lyrics first and then let that inspire the music. Or I like to do the music first and then let that inspire the lyrics. I say, why not try both ways and see what's the result? Usually results in very different songs. So it's got to excite as well. So you've got to get that attention within the first 2 seconds, something like that, and then try to build it from there. And of course, some albums, and I feel increasingly nowadays, people do very one-note albums. They feel like, oh, this is our band identity and this is it. And so all same pace, same sound, same modes. It's a music term in terms of sticking to the same key and the same tonality, whether it's major, minor, etc.
So, and the cool thing is, if you actually just Google this, right, there, all the set lists of all the bands that have performed in recent times are listed online. So you don't even need to have attended that.
Setlist.fm.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, you
nice.
see, you don't even need to have attended the concert. And so the first thing is, it's a guaranteed good listen lah. You know, if
Yeah.
you're taking a long drive or whatever. But alternatively, if you're a musician and if you're trying to figure this out as well, you subconsciously learn a lot of things about the pace, about, you know, like how Fuad mentioned, captivating in the beginning,
Yeah.
when to ease off, when to, you know, love people and again. So that I found was a very cool process as a listener as well as a musician.
Yeah, because I guess it does need a good pacing to
Yeah.
kind of like take the audience with you on that
Yeah.
journey. That's cool. So the saying goes, the pen is mightier than the sword. If you were to replace the word sword, what would you replace it with?
Me?
No.
Oh!
What's your saying, Shan?
the pen is my dear. It's wow. She's you said we can be somewhat. You said we can cuss. I don't know if we can
Yeah.
be vulgar,
So-
but
No, you please be yourselves.
I thought he would replace it with penis lah, since he likes the...
the pen is mightier than the penis.
Then the pen is mightier makes more sense, is it?
Okay. Neither makes any sense. But okay. If we would replace the word sword,
Sword.
right? The pen is mightier than.
Well, in Malaysia, we can say the pen is mightier than the rotan.
Oh, in that sense.
Stumped you guys.
Why you laugh?
Yeah, stop.
got
Okay lah, I
nothing.
got one. The
Yeah.
pen is mightier than the politician.
True.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. For me,
It's not though. It's kind of
Fahmi Reza, that's exactly what.
yeah. He like owns the courts these days. He's just in and out, having a good
Badass.
time. Yeah, so his pen's definitely my idea. Some would argue.
Some could argue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other?
I have nothing witty. All I can say is like knife, but does make a difference.
Check. A sword and
That's
a
a good
knife.
one.
They just vary
Kind of go
in
hand
sizes.
in
Like you and
hand.
me.
Oh, good
I'm
one.
more good. That's all. I'm just a bit.
You okay? I thought you were talking about the.
Not everything's about your finger, Shan.
So when was the last time you made a mixtape or a playlist for someone?
For someone.
For someone else?
Jeez, like forever. I don't think I've ever made a
I
mixtape for
don't think so.
anybody.
Not anybody?
I used to, as a kid, I used to stand by on one side of the radio deck with an empty cassette, and then all I needed was one really, and and then I would wait for my favorite songs on radio, and then I hit record lah. I remember now what the second deck is for. So then when I wanted to, so you kind of just got to go with it lah, right? You
Yeah.
can't set the order of what the radio is playing, what.
Yeah.
But afterwards, you can pick and choose from deck A, when to play, and then when to insert that into deck B. So that was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, that would have been the last time I.
Well, did you make it just for yourself? Or?
No.
Sounds
I
like it.
handed it out to. No, I handed it out to my schoolmate.
I feel like that's so nice,
Yeah.
isn't
He
it?
was selling it, like making a buck on the side.
Oh, to be fair, so I would have been like 11. I had no money, so I would just take my dad's cassettes and
Two of them.
play it, and this doesn't sound very important, and then just record.
Oh my
over. Yeah.
god!
But to be fair, his were like self-help or like devotional. Or
Yeah, who needs
That's
that?
not
You know, who needs that?
Devotional.
Zig Ziglar, he was his favorite self-help person.
So, out of all of the songs on the mixtape that you made for us, which is your personal favorite?
I forget what we said.
I can
you read
I
out the
can
list
read it
again?
for
I
you.
forgot what we put down. I remember the artist. I don't remember the name of the song.
It was
Love
Temper
Lost.
Trap, Transatlanticism by Death Cab for a Cutie, All These Things I Hate, Bullet for My Valentine.
So to be fair, those are already our favorites. So we need to pick.
Pick one.
Ooh, okay then.
Can you?
I can. Well, caveat, I love all of those songs. Thank you for reminding us of the playlist that we came up with. What happened to it?
No, go to continue.
But I like the story of Delphic. It's an indie story. And I hung out with them and I quit the drink, but at that time I got smashed with them. And they reminded me a lot of us lah, It's not quite transatlantic, but they are across the pond, and it was interesting to see a bunch of guys who resembled us. I mean, more you than me. Yeah, so Delphic,
For sure.
yeah, is special to me.
Nice.
I wonder if they remember.
Yes, they remember.
I called them last
I
week.
checked, yeah.
No, I called them last week.
Wait,
Hey, you remember Shad or not? Yeah. Clown,
He got
man.
drunk.
He resembled us, lah.
I would have resembled a chaiwala.
Yeah, I guess for me, there's two songs on that list that you just mentioned or that we put up, which definitely, yes, Tribute by Tenacious D. I think it's such a clever song lyrically, and I don't know, it's such a, I always have a lot of fun listening to it, right? But definitely as well, Transatlanticism. I always have trouble saying the name, that's why I just listen to it. I think that's a brilliant song, and to watch them play it live was a special moment. It was, I get goosebumps thinking about it. So that song as well.
If you can envision a tunnel, right? That's what the song does, It's like.
Today you can go touring it 10 cents per link.
We're filming this on a holiday, so it's almost undiscounted.
God.
What about you?
Same.
Same?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that as well. Sorry, I
Yeah.
took it, but because we were both backstage listening to it at the same time,
To feel the energy is like, it's a bit something else.
I don't want to call it energy. I don't know what it was. It was just a moment. That's it.
I want to comment on energy as well, right? Cloud Nothings, a lot of bands sound great. They sound like the record, and it's just perfection. But Cloud Nothings is one of those bands that exudes the energy, like more so than the recordings. So yeah, Transatlanticism had that effect. But so did Cloud Nothings. They brought the house down. It's just insane.
Nice. So you have a new song coming out, or it'll be out already when this video comes out. So what is the story behind your new song?
Shan,
Right?
don't say anything.
Yes.
It's a song that I wrote for my fiancée when I proposed to her.
Wow.
Yeah. So, well, I think the title is pretty self-explanatory. Best I ever had. But the story of how it came about was quite funny. We have been dating for about 3 years. and progressively in our relationship, I don't think she was such a huge rock fan before we started going out. And then after we did, then she started listening to KP songs, and then she's like, oh yeah, I like this song, I like that song. Like last time she only liked one song, then after like she started to get more into the others, right?
So
And
the
then-
brainwashing worked lah. It's alright, not bad, not bad.
And then she
Every
started
day while
to-
she's sleeping, just play Kyoto Protocol in the background, you know?
Yeah. Then she started to get curious about the lyrics and stuff like that, and then she'd be asking like, "Oh, what's this song about? What's this song about?" Kind of. Lo and behold, a lot of the answers were, "Oh, it's about a past relationship." I mean, a lot of songs are. So it's,
A lot of songs are romantically motivated, would you say?
I would say we maybe
Or
like
inspired.
50%.
Yeah.
No, I think it's gone up more. Like Penance Mighty is like probably tipped the scales. It's probably like 3/4 now about past relationships and stuff.
But
So-
also about life.
Yes, also about life. But yeah,
That's
true.
that's the other quarter lah.
yeah. So we digress. But essentially, I knew where this was heading. I just had this ominous feeling like, oh. Like imagine 75% of the time the answer is about a past relationship, and then one day the question will come. So where's my song?
Honestly, same.
Where's my song? And I'm not somebody who can be forced into, especially something creative, lah.
Yeah.
You know. So I said, you can't just ask me for a song. That's not how it works. It doesn't just magically appear. So then I just kept telling her like, okay, at some point I just stopped saying the whole thing about you can't just force me to do it. And I said, okay, your song's coming soon. Okay, one day you'll have your song. And then she just kept asking one day. And we had been sitting on this riff, something that came out in the studio, but ironically it was written for the bass first. And it was super cool. Like I just immediately thought that sounds something super fun but edgy at the same time, kind of like the Strokes, where you hear it like it's rock and roll, but you can play it at the club and then everybody will hit a dance floor kind of thing, right? So when I did propose to her, that was the first time that she heard the song. I mean, obviously there was some point of time where she kept asking me, "Hey, where's my song?" It's not like every day, but like you can imagine because he finds her hilarious, and the thing is, she is hilarious.
She also is a very timid, quiet person. So when you go, hey, I don't think she said it like that.
I could see that happening, you know. Maybe she's not timid. She's just very collected. Very
Collected.
very lovely person. So I can imagine behind closed doors, she's like, you know.
She has a way of wilding out lah. So yes, at some point when she would be asking like, "So where's my song?" That's how she
That's
would
it.
ask, right?
That's
So
better.
where's my song?
I don't care. It's playing it. It's playing out differently.
All the
in my head.
songs. You don't have my song. So at some point, I actually already had the song. It was kind of ready, but it's just like, oh, okay. So we were away on holiday at this beautiful resort. We just had like a lovely dinner, and then when we got back to the hotel room, I had prepared like one of those portable Bluetooth speakers, and then at home me and Shaq put together a demo that's just a -1, so that I would. It's the modern day version of, you know, that old movie where the guy's holding a boombox above his head? Yeah, but instead I had this thing on
The
the stand,
Bluetooth
the Bluetooth
speaker.
speaker. And I also had an iPad because I'm a presentation nerd. And it was blank first. So then I sang the song to her in real life, and that's the first time anybody outside of the band heard that song. Yeah. So that's essentially the sound that inspired everything else in the song. Just
That was the
hearing that in
initial-
my head. Yeah. I just knew like I wanted like this really post-punk revival sounding bass line, like think Interpol or the Strokes kind of thing. So yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Most welcome.
It was super fun. You're so silly. I love it.
What?
You're always asking why I never write your songs.